Okay, we're going to do an introduction to how yoga works. This is one of the best books I've ever read, and I'm going to be honest, I'm not a huge reader of novels, but I love this. It's a novel, it's a story, but it is so much more than just, entertainment. The first time I read How Yoga Works, it took me a full year. Not because it's hard to read, but because there was so much information embedded in the story that I wanted to process it. So if you don't want to keep up with the pace that we have set, don't worry about it. Do what's right for you. Always, actually, but especially in the holding space practice, it's a primary principle that you should check in with your inner knowing, and it will teach you far more than anyone else. One of my favorite, I guess it's an aphorism or sayings, is by an educator named Charlotte Mason, and my kids have grown up with this. The saying is, all education is self-education. So what that means is you have to be ready to learn. If the pace that I have set as just a possibility is not the right pace for you, don't sweat that. On the other hand, it can be really good to push yourself just a little bit. So do what's right for you first and foremost. So let me give you a little taste of how yoga works. It's the story of a young woman. I think she's 17 when the book begins. And of course, this is not a true story, so you have to take it with a grain of salt, but it's really well crafted. And this is set in, I think it even says at the beginning of the book, 1101 AD. So that's the time period. And she, the girl, is on a journey. You're not sure why she's on the journey in the beginning of the book. That unfolds during the book. But she comes to a small town, and in that town, she is apprehended, and she is arrested and put in jail. And the story takes place around that location of her being imprisoned. So why is she imprisoned? She is accused of stealing. She has a book. In this day and age, 1, a woman didn't read. 2, it was expensive to have a book, and so she's accused of it being stolen. And I love, this is on page 9, the captain of the jail takes the book and wants to prove this couldn't possibly be your book. And so he just opens the book and points to that and says, what does that say? And it says, things that cannot last seem to us as if they will. The captain's eyes suddenly dropped and stayed there a moment. When he looked up, they were glistening, as though he were about to cry. And then there was an anger, or perhaps an anguish in his voice. What does that mean? He demanded. She responds, it's talking about our lives, our friends, our family, our work, our own bodies. When they are in front of us, they are there in front of us. When we can see them and touch them, it seems as though they will always be there. But then they always leave us. And I remember hearing that a yoga teacher in one of my classes read that out loud, and I knew I needed to read the book because I thought about that for a long time. We do act as if nothing will ever change, and yet we know everything always will and must change. Though it be slow, it will change. So this story is to teach us how to change in a positive way, and how to allow for transitions in our life, how to do this with grace and with even joy. Even when things are difficult, we don't have to go along with the downward turn of whatever might come up. So how yoga works, I can't wait to have a little discussion with anyone that wants to discuss this and try to figure out how this applies in our life and how to help ourselves have a better life. How yoga works, let's read it.